Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of School Talk, and look who we have! Lieutenant Campbell.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I remember when you were the sergeant, and then you became the acting lieutenant, and now you actually have the stripe as the lieutenant.
Yeah, moving on up.
Moving on up,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have some of your staff, and they dress up in costumes and things like this, and you wouldn't believe it. But what actually transpires is the driver is driving down the road in the middle of the crosswalk, and you have somebody dressed up in a funny costume that you're like, there's no way that a person could possibly be driving through that without paying attention. And I watched it with my own two eyes. They had all the officers on the right-hand side with their motorcycles, and they drive right through the crosswalk, and you're like, how do you not see this?
Right. I mean, each holiday we team up with Erin Breen and her grant through UNLV that keeps pedestrians safe, or we try to educate them. And we have one of our officers or another department assisting with us where we are in costume. And it's not our intent to do anything other than what you're saying is highlighting this person. They're usually either in bright colored clothes or in a costume that it should, at least the driver should see them. Yeah. And before we even set out onto the crosswalk, we have studies of reaction times, how long it takes somebody to slow down in, say, a 45-mile-an-hour zone. We look at 45-mile-an-hour zones and say, hey, they're probably going to be traveling 55. And based on that, we have reaction time formulas to place cones on other sides of those crosswalks. If they're on the outside of those crosswalks, or on the outside of those cones, that's where a violation would begin. If we step out and they're on the inside of the cones, we know that their reaction time is not enough to stop. So we would not intentionally step out knowing that those cars passed that cone, because we know that they don't have time. So we specifically look at these things and set these things up in such a way to benefit the driver. We're not looking at them doing 45, we're anticipating them doing 55. And we're not looking for that type of speed during that event. Now, if somebody's doing 75 in a 45, that's gonna catch our attention.
Right.
But most of these events are on the side of the driver. And if they can't see a Santa Claus in a crosswalk, which we're going to be doing in about a week, if they can't see the turkey, if they can't see a leprechaun or whatever costume or idea or bright colors that we put on, they're not going to see a kid. They're not going to see your normal community member or resident that's wearing everyday colored clothing like me. You know, we tell people to wear bright reflective clothing and be visible, but sometimes that's not possible. So instead of being visible when it's not possible, be predictable. Don't step out right in front of a car when you see a bunch of headlights coming at you. Yes, you have the right of way. Yes, you are a pedestrian. Yes, those lights are flashing, but if those cars don't slow down, the alternative is injury.
Right, and even though it might not be your fault, you still don't want, there's no reason to engage.
Right.
Better to be, mindful and just stay on the side for the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And there's something funny I learned in motor school from one of the instructors, one of the metro officers. He called it the theory of lug nuts, or law of lug nuts. Whoever has the most lug nuts wins the crash.
The motoring public needs to pay attention.
Everybody.
You know what I mean? Yeah. 100%.
Everybody.
Everybody.
I mean, the motoring public is the ones that have the more chance of hurting someone because they're obviously behind a couple 3,000 pound vehicle or more. But everybody has to be responsible for their own safety.
I can't agree with you more. Now, I noticed I asked you when you came in, I said, oh, you drove your motorcycle today.
I did.
I got a picture for you. Ready?
That's a good one.
Move over 3 feet long. What do you think of that? Lieutenant Campbell, let's look right here, and we'll say goodbye, okay? See you later.